I'm Regan Goodale, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus.
And I'm James Westman. It's Wednesday, May 31st. Here's what's making news. On the East Coast in Nova Scotia today, unprecedented forest fires have thousands evacuating their homes as flames continue to rage through the province. Go. Smoke and flaming embers fill the air in multiple regions across Nova Scotia. An emergency evacuation order is underway. First responders call this fire a dirty burn.
It's very easy for the fire to kind of hopscotch from place to place. When it does that, it leaves unburned fuel behind it. So the possibility for a reignition at a later point is very possible.
Fire crews are operating in precarious conditions as the fires multiply. Over 16,000 residents have been displaced while the first responders continue to fight the flames. The province is urging residents to have 72 hours worth of supplies in preparation to flee.
Here in Ontario, professional engineers have become the first association representing a regulated profession to remove Canadian work experience as a job requirement. Tessa Bennett has more.
For engineers coming to Canada, new regulations just made it a little bit easier to secure a job in the field. As Labour Minister Monty McNaughton puts it, there are too many barriers and the province needs to fill thousands of vacant positions.
For newcomers, finding work is their top priority. They have the skills and motivation, but face multiple barriers to getting started. Many of them could be working in professions and skilled trades we desperately need as engineers, architects, or accountants.
The Government of Ontario reports around 300,000 jobs that are currently unfilled in the province, many of which include engineering positions. The government also says that only a quarter of immigrants in Ontario who are internationally trained work in jobs that are actually in their field. Before this announcement, even if a newcomer had the skills to successfully complete their profession's licensing exam, without experience in Canada, they would be denied the opportunity. So far, no other provinces have removed the barriers preventing people from working in one of these regulated professions from getting placed. This move towards opening more opportunities is creating an impact with international students right here at Humber College. Students like Josh see this as a positive step for international workers who want to come to Canada.
For people that we know personally from back home who are looking for new experiences abroad, it also opens avenues for them as well to be able to come and showcase their talents and be able to bring what they have learned to new areas in the world.
In December of this year, all of these work experience requirements will be voided. That is, unless an exemption has been issued by the Ministry of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development before that date. For Humber News, I'm Tessa Bennett.
In Brampton, Canadian Blood Services workers took to the streets last week to rally against the privatization of plasma collection. Asma Sahibzada has this report.
About 40% of Canada's blood supply is stored in this building alone. These workers are rallying for a better contract, higher wages, and to stop the privatization of plasma collection.
I'm hoping it was impactful enough to send a strong message to our employer that we're tired. We want to be respected. We want to be secure that our job is going to be available in the future.
OPSU says Canadian Blood Services had signed a deal with Spanish company Grifols to privatize plasma collection through a press release last fall.
If we allow something like this to happen, I feel like Pandora's box, will be open, and who knows what's coming next. It's very concerning.
OPSU says Canadian Blood Services had signed a deal with Spanish company Grifols to privatize plasma collection through a press release last fall. That press release says that the deal was signed to ensure continued access to life-saving therapies due to a global shortage of immunoglobulins, the most widely used medications made from plasma. But for Alvaro, this isn't reassuring. He fears privatizing plasma could demotivate blood donors.
So if you're going to offer them money, how are you going to convince them to donate, conversely, just for a snack and a bottle of Perrier water? It's difficult.
All the more difficult when Canadian Blood Services say there is a supply shortage right now. Meanwhile, the workers in this building are taking their message directly to the Premier.
Mr. Ford, we see what you're doing. We see where the road lies ahead, and we're not going to stand for it.
Canadian Blood Services workers will be continuing to fight for public blood collection. Asma Saibzada, Humber News.
Cybersecurity has been top of mind for many lately. Recently, Microsoft issued a statement about cyber threats to U.S. infrastructure by China, which could affect other countries like Canada. Antonio Pelaez Barcelo has more.
The Five Eyes, a security and intelligence organization that comprises the services of Canada, the United States, United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Australia, has issued a joint statement warning of cyber attacks by a hacker group called Bolt Typhoon, sponsored by China. The Five Eyes and political experts warn Canada may be a target too.
We need to protect our private communication. We need to protect our network. This is why 5G should never be done with Huawei or government-controlled or Chinese organizations.
Brown says China never hid its political profile and Canada should work more on this. But there's a solution.
In most cases, we should do the maximum to publicize it. It's essential that people in Canada and elsewhere be made aware of the magnitude of the threat. Because the best way to counter it is to understand it.
Microsoft says it has already notified and helped affected customers, but we as users should also be careful.
For example, let's talk about TikTok, right? TikTok, when you install TikTok on your phone, by default, it asks for access to your other apps, to where you are, to your camera, to your microphone, to your contact list. And if you don't think about it, you just give it access to all of those things. It doesn't need access to all those things.
Sin says surveillance, disruption, and monetary gain are the reasons behind these groups, and now there's a new danger.
And maybe they only make $10 from you instead of the $1,000. But because the attacker doesn't have to invest any of their personal time in it, it's worthwhile. So I think what we're going to see with artificial intelligence coming on board is we're going to see a lot more attacks happening and maybe requesting less money, right?
Continuous professional learning at Humber College offers 2 programs to fight cyber attacks: cybercrime specialist and certified ethical hacker. Cyber attacks are likely to continue, but it's in our hands to stop them. From Humber College, I am Antonio Pelaez Barcelo.
And just north of Toronto, historical buildings in one of Markham's heritage conservation districts might take a fall as a result of some new development. Maria Castaigne has more.
The old Fire Hall confectionery has been a dessert staple for Markham residents for years, but it may be a thing of the past due to proposed development.
Our hopes is that, our presence stays on the street because we are an iconic name, and I think we are probably one of the biggest crowd pleasers on the street.
The historical landmarks of Main Street Unionville are what visitors admire the most, but with a growing population comes a change for infrastructure.
The change is more or less a very positive landmark or a positive process for the Unionville BIA.
It was unclear just how much the town will change as a result of the developments.
I think it's not the right time to answer this question until we have a clear picture from the town and also from the whole Main Street.
Il Pastino, an Italian restaurant that's been around for over 2 decades, is another one of the businesses set to relocate as a result of the development. Unionville's history and cultural landmarks are what visitors and residents alike seem to admire the most about the town. But with the growing population, development may be inevitable. For Humber News, I'm Maria Castaigne.
From architecture to art, some newcomers to Canada took part in something called a floristry workshop in East York. The floral arrangements shine a spotlight on refugee labor. Philip Lau has more.
People here may not speak the same language, but they share a common passion: flowers. Dozens gather at the Tronian Park to learn from the Syrian floral artists and design their own bouquets. He says he has decorated for the Aleppo citadel in his home country and also the castle for the Spanish king. Today he has brought his daughter to the workshop to help him.
I was translating, but at the same time he was just going through the tables and connecting with people, and I feel, just working together, creating something together is the language. So
This event is not only about flowers or exchange of culture, but also the difficulties immigrants here face.
But immigrant artists have a lot of issues getting connected to galleries, having galleries willing to take them on, having people willing to commission them, take a quote-unquote risk on them, because their portfolio is not a Canadian portfolio. They don't have years of Canadian work experience.
For artists new to this country, their message to the public is simple: be patient and open to accepting their artworks. Philip Lau, Humber News.
And now, stepping into the future, an augmented reality exhibit is capturing the imagination of some at Nathan Phillips Square. Dorina Vinyetseva has more.
Do you see anything unusual at Nathan Phillips Square? But there is a portal through which these people get to alternate reality art exhibition on the moon.
You're walking through a portal and you're in the artwork, and it's actually mapped to a specific place on the moon because the moon has never been mapped, right?
To access the event, people can go to artificialmuseum.com or scan the QR code in person and select the artwork. Virtually, it also works if online visitors go to artificialmuseum.com and choose the artwork and press Show through the experience. The exhibition is not a commercial project at all, which is kind of groundbreaking because a lot of augmented reality has been used for promotional sort of wow elements. This is more curated work, but also skill development.
It was probably like my favorite way to learn 3D, right? Because like there was like a deadline, there was a bunch of people that were doing it with me.
For most people, it was their first project doing augmented reality. And so that was a big deal because we did have to give people a little bit of support in order to like make this leap into thinking in these dimensions where you're in an immersive dimensional reality.
Through the use of voice apps, users will be able to listen to descriptive metadata text describing the artworks, making the exhibition accessible to viewers with visual impairments. The exhibition will be available all summer in different locations across Toronto. I'm Dorina Vinyetseva for Humber News.
And the TIFF Bell Lightbox is garnering attention as filmmakers, casts, and film enthusiasts come together to celebrate the best queer films from Canada and around the world. Shraddha Beaugenet has more.
Walking on the red carpet are some of the most talented filmmakers and cast members in Canada and around the world. This year, the 33rd edition of the Inside Out 2S LGBTQ+ Film Festival in Toronto is showcasing 107 films from 30 countries. It is a mix of documentaries, shorts and features, all made by and about the 2S LGBTQ+ community.
With our programming committees and that, like every year, we want to do better than the year before us, right? And make sure it's more representative of our communities and accurately shows what's happening, what we're seeing in cinema reflects what is happening in our communities out in the real world.
The film festival also provides a platform to support emerging filmmakers to reach a larger audience while providing a safe space for queer communities to see their stories on the big screen. And behind the scenes, there are volunteers and staff who bring this festival alive. Humber student and aspiring filmmaker Simran Taurani is working at the Inside Out Festival as a part of her internship.
In my last internship, when I was doing that for some other agency, it felt deadly. But now when I do it, I feel like I know that it's going towards a good cause. I feel like it sort of combines who I am and what I want to do in life as well. So it's just coming together.
The festival will run until June 4. For 11 days, films will be screened in the theatre and online, celebrating the diversity and stories in the queer community. Humber News, Shraddha Beaugenet.
Here at Humber, honeybees are returning to campus for the first time since the pandemic, and students are readying their welcome home. Melody Lamb has more.
The raspy sound of sandpaper fills the bee yard as Humber students refinish the worn-out wooden beehives. And a fresh coat of yellow paint is applied to welcome the return of honeybees to campus.
And we just have to ensure that they are pretty much weatherproof for the bees because this is their house. So we don't want any leakage or any issues to happen. So that's the main reason why we're painting them.
Humber College was certified as a bee campus in 2021, and hosting honeybees is part of the college's pollinator initiative.
It's pretty much a demonstration of Humber's commitment to being this safe and healthy environment for our pollinators, especially native pollinators.
But the COVID lockdowns had the bees relocated north of Toronto. And now, the bees are returning to the campuses. The recent summer-like weather has them getting busy.
Right now, they're spending a lot of energy going out and collecting pollen because that's used in feeding the young offspring. And so you'll see a lot of activity at the hive where they've got the pollen on their back legs, and you can see the different colors coming in. It's really quite interesting.
The Lakeshore and North campuses are expected to host around 10 colonies. But the college's pollinator initiative goes beyond honeybees.
When you think of bees, everybody thinks of honeybees, and they don't realize there are about 300 or more different species of bees just in Toronto, in our area. And these are just as important, if not more important, than honeybees.
And here at the Humber Arboretum and all around me, Humber College has installed pollinator gardens for both honeybees and native pollinators. And when it's ready, the honey will be harvested and used by the culinary students. Melody Lamb, Humber News.
It sure looks pretty out in our backyard, the Arboretum. I'm sure students will appreciate the opportunity to do their work outside as the summer semester continues.
That's right, Regan, but it sure was a scorcher on the way into the newsroom today. Let's check and see how our weather team is doing out there. Tyreek, what have you got for us?
Thanks, James, and happy last day of May. We are only 3 weeks away from the official start of summer, and we are already starting to feel that heat outside. Let's take a look at our 3-day forecast. Today's high will be 30 degrees with the low of 17, but will feel like 33 with the humidex. Heading into tomorrow, we can expect similar temperatures with the high of 31 degrees and low of 17. And lastly, on Friday, we'll be starting our weekend with the high of 30 and a low of 17. So as you can see, it's very hot outside. It's a great time to take a trip to the beach or a pool, but remember to keep that sunscreen by your side and stay hydrated. That's all for today. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Tyreek. Well, staying with nature as we close out today, this month marked World Turtle Day, a day to bring awareness to turtles and their disappearing habitats. Alexa Gregoris has this.
At ponds like this all over Ontario during this time of year, if you just look a little closer, you may see a turtle sunning itself or resting in the muddy edges. Being aware of the turtles is the first step in protecting them. The risks brought to these animals are mainly caused by man-made problems like habit loss, poaching, and fishing. Conservationists across Canada are encouraging people to take action to help turtles survive and protect Ontario's native turtles and their habitats.
What the public needs to know, first of all, is that turtles are species at risk, and that 8 of the 8 Ontario turtles are species at risk, that they are vital to their wetland habitat. The wetland habitat's vital to us as our source of our drinking water, and that there's some very easy things that they can do to help to protect populations.
Small actions from the public go a long way to keep our turtle population safe. June is peak nesting time for turtles, so they'll be traveling across roads more than ever. Experts say everyone should be cautious and drive slowly, especially near wetlands.
It's very uncool to hit a turtle, no matter what age demographic that you're in. There's people out there protecting them from, bus drivers stopping their buses to help them across the road. We have young guys on their dirt bikes bringing in injured turtles in their pockets. Everybody cares. Really, and it's very much the exception that people do anything deliberate.
The Ontario Turtle Conservation Centre recently released over 3,000 turtles across the province back to their home wetlands after being in their care and rehabilitation over the winter. As more people join the conversation on turtle protection, conservationists say the future of these endangered species is looking much brighter. I'm Alexa Gregoris, Humber News.
That's all for today, and I'm James Westman.
And I'm Regan Goodale. Humber News is written and produced by students in the journalism program. For more coverage, visit our website humbernews.ca and follow us on Twitter at HumberJRNL. We'll see you next time.